In a world filled with chaos and uncertainty, there lies an ancient wisdom that promises the power of inner peace and resilience. Imagine harnessing the strength to not only endure, but thrive amidst life's challenges. Welcome to our journey into the heart of Stoicism, an age-old philosophy that began in the bustling streets of ancient Athens around 300 BCE. This isn't just history, it's a way of life that has surged in popularity as a beacon of hope for many seeking solace in our modern world. Recent studies, including one from a renowned research institute, reveal that over 70% of individuals who apply Stoic principles in their daily lives experience a significant uplift in their mental well-being. But what is Stoicism, and how can it transform your life? Through mindfulness and self-reflection, Stoicism teaches us the art of living virtuously, developing resilience, and achieving mental clarity. It guides us to discern what we can control and what we must let go, paving the way for true inner peace, even amid turmoil. Join us as we explore these timeless secrets to living a fulfilled and happy life. Part 1. Where Stoicism came from. Stoicism has its roots in ancient Greece, where this deep theory first appeared and captured the minds and hearts of many people with its ideas. Stoicism was started by Zeno of Citium in the early 3rd century BC. He built on the ideas of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle to come up with his own beliefs. Stoics thought that the best way to avoid suffering and find happiness was to live in harmony with nature and reason. During the Roman Empire, Stoicism became more common, especially among important people like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. As a way to find real happiness, these Stoic thinkers stressed the value of self-discipline, inner peace, and moral virtue. They thought that things going on in the outside world shouldn't affect a person's health or peace of mind. A virtuous character was also highly valued by the Stoics. They thought that qualities like justice, knowledge, courage, and moderation were necessary to live a good life. Based on what they taught, being virtuous meant acting in line with general principles instead of letting personal wants or outside forces affect your choices. Stoics tried to cultivate an unwavering sense of calmness in the face of life's difficulties by exercising self-control and remaining unconcerned about external circumstances outside of their control. Our thoughts and deeds are the only things we can control, so this idea tells us not to worry too much about things we can't change. Once we get to the next part, which is about the Stoic theory of virtue, it's clear how important these values are for knowing what Stoicism is all about. Part 2. The Stoic view of what is good. Imagine a life where you don't have to worry about being morally good or virtuous in any way. But this isn't true in Stoicism, where the idea of virtue is very important. Stoicism defines virtue as moral excellence and includes traits like discernment, bravery, justice, and self-control. The Stoics said that these qualities are necessary for living a good life. Stoic philosophy says that virtue is the best thing that can happen to a person and the point of their life. The Stoics thought that only by cultivating virtuous traits can one find true happiness. In their minds, virtue was something that should be used constantly in all parts of life. As the Stoics pointed out, virtue is something we can control and grow through self-discipline and reason. These people thought that outside factors shouldn't control our actions or make us happy. In its place, they told people to work on improving their character and living in harmony with nature. Adopting the idea of virtue can help you find calm and peace of mind, even when bad things happen. Stoics think that people can handle life's problems with strength and calmness if they practice traits like knowledge and self-control. The Stoic theory of virtue tells us, in the simplest terms, that the only way to be truly happy is to live by moral principles, regardless of what the outside world may throw at us. Being smart, brave, fair, and self-disciplined are some of the character traits that can help us find peace within ourselves. Now that we know this, let's talk about the most important part of Stoicism, the duality of control. This is the question of what can be managed and what can't. Part 3. The two types of control. What can you control and what can't you? Come to terms with the idea of the dichotomy of control and figure out what we can control and what we can't. Some things in life are under our control, according to the Stoic theory. For a virtuous life, it is essential to understand this difference. Thoughts, feelings, and deeds are things we can control. These are the parts of ourselves that we can mold and guide toward virtuous goals. We can choose how to react to things going on around us and keep our inner peace no matter what, by becoming more self-aware and practicing self-discipline. A lot of things, like other people's views, nature tragedies, and even accidents, are out of our control, though. Stoicism instructs us to pay attention to how we respond to these external factors rather than thinking about them. When we accept what we can't change, we free ourselves from needless pain and find peace in the middle of chaos. Understanding this contrast helps us focus on what's most important, building values like modesty, knowledge, courage, and justice. We know that the only way to be truly happy is to work on developing these traits within ourselves, rather than looking for approval from others or depending on things we can't control. As we move on to the next section, which talks about mindfulness and Stoicism, it becomes clear that taking the idea of the split of control gives us a strong foundation for using mindfulness to achieve mental control. Let's look into how being fully present in the here and now might help us get through tough situations calmly and clearly. Part 4. How to practice mindfulness and Stoicism. We can cultivate a better awareness of our thoughts, feelings, and actions by cultivating a mindfulness practice in our lives, which gives us the strength to deal with problems calmly and clearly. Being mindful is an important part of Stoicism because it lets us watch our inner experiences without judging them or getting attached to them. We can separate ourselves from outside events and focus on what we can control by turning our attention to the present moment. We learn to notice our thoughts and feelings without becoming engrossed in them through mindfulness exercise. We don't have to act on impulse or let bad feelings take over. We can take a step back and look at the situation objectively. Being aware of this helps us answer wisely instead of acting on impulse, which might make things worse. Another benefit is that mindfulness helps us see trends in the way we think and feel. By paying attention to these patterns, we can figure out if we have bad ideas or thought patterns that keep coming up and are stopping us from growing. Now that we are aware of this, we can question and rethink these thoughts in a more positive way. We can also fully connect with the present moment better when we practice mindfulness. That way, we can enjoy the wealth of life and find gratitude even when things are hard, by giving our full attention to every experience, no matter how small or big it is. We will talk about how Stoicism helps us see problems as chances to grow instead of things to avoid or fight, in order to become more resilient and emotionally stable. Part 5. Building up your strength and emotional stability. Getting stronger and more emotionally stable is like building a shield against life's storms. It helps us handle problems with strength and grace. Stoicism tells us that we can get better at these things by practicing them on purpose. Emotional stability means staying cool and balanced no matter what is going on around you. Resilience means being able to get back on your feet after something bad happens. Adopting the idea of amor fati, or the love of fate, can help you become more resilient. This means that you should accept what happens as important and learn from it instead of fighting it or being upset about it. We can cultivate an attitude that lives in the face of hardship by rephrasing failures as chances for growth. Negative vision and other Stoic practices help us get ready for possible problems by practicing how we would deal with them in our minds. Mindfulness and separating oneself from outside events can help one maintain emotional health. Stoics advise us to concentrate on what we can control, our thoughts, attitudes, and actions, rather than getting too attached to things we can't change. When we understand that outside events don't affect our happiness or worthiness, we can build an inner power that stays strong through life's ups and downs. Developing gratitude and appreciation is another important part of the Stoic philosophy. Finding happiness in the present time means focusing on what we do have instead of what we don't have. By informing us of the wealth in our lives, even in the face of difficulties, this sense of gratitude helps us keep things in perspective. To become resilient and emotionally stable, you have to work at it and practice. To stay calm and peaceful during life's storms, we can follow Stoic principles like amor fati, mindfulness, detachment, and gratitude. As we move on to the next part about practicing gratitude, let's look at how this habit makes it easier to deal with life's problems. Cultivating gratitude and appreciation in Section 6. Cultivating gratitude and appreciation helps us see the beauty in every moment, making our lives full of happiness and peace. When we show gratitude, we stop thinking about what we don't have and start focusing on what we do have. Being aware of and thankful for the blessings that surround us every day is a choice. Being thankful helps us be strong by keeping a good attitude. We can face problems with more hope and positivity if we notice the good things in our lives. Even when things look bad, there are always good things to look forward to. The way we see things this way helps us get over losses faster while keeping an attitude of gratitude for the lessons we've learned. Being grateful also makes us feel more emotionally stable. People feel fulfilled when they take the time to enjoy the people, events, and things that make them happy. When we realize that true happiness comes from inside, we depend less on things outside of ourselves to make us happy. Practicing gratitude also makes our relationships with other people stronger. Thanking people you care about builds stronger bonds and makes you feel like you belong and are loved. It lets them know how important they are to us and encourages them to feel the same way about us. When we practice gratitude and appreciation, we let ourselves experience life to the fullest, accepting both the good and the bad with kindness. Before we talk about how to use Stoic principles in relationships, let's look at how these ideas can help us get closer to each other without affecting our inner peace. Part 7. Using Stoic ideas in personal relationships. In your interactions, use the power of Stoic principles to build stronger bonds and keep your inner peace. Stoicism gives us useful ideas for dealing with our relationships in a calm and wise way. We can cultivate better and more satisfying relationships by using Stoic principles like concentrating on what we can control and accepting that life will always have ups and downs. Realizing that we can't control other people's actions or feelings is a key part of being patient in relationships. We should work on changing our own thoughts, attitudes, and actions instead of trying to control or change other people. This means being aware of ourselves and taking responsibility for how we respond. By doing this, we can escape fights and irritations that aren't necessary. Another important concept is to understand that relationships are temporary by nature. There are many reasons why people come into our lives, but they may also leave at some point. Realizing that things change over time helps us enjoy the present and value the time we spend with loved ones. Also, it helps us let go of ties or hopes that can cause us pain or sadness. Stoicism teaches us to care about other people and treat them with gratitude. Practicing gratitude means noticing the good things about the people in our lives and telling them how much we appreciate them. This change in attitude makes people feel more connected, which makes ties stronger. Stoic principles help us deal with other people with more knowledge, acceptance, gratitude, and respect when we use them in our everyday lives. Our inner peace can stay with us even as we build stronger relationships. Let's look at how Stoicism and the desire of happiness are related if we pay attention to what is within our control, accept that everything is temporary, regularly practice self-awareness, and cultivate thanks. Part 8. Stoicism and the Search for Happiness. In the last talk, we talked about how to use Stoic principles in relationships, stressing how important it is to be logical and in control of yourself. Now let's talk about another part of Stoicism that is talked about a lot, how it relates to the search for happiness. To be truly happy, we must look within ourselves and live in harmony with nature, as taught by Stoicism. To reach a state of peace and happiness, we can work on developing qualities like knowledge, courage, moderation, and justice. Some people called Stoics believed that our happiness is not determined by outside factors, but by our own thoughts and opinions. We can stop depending on outside things for our happiness when we look at things this way. We focus on building inner power and perseverance instead of looking for approval from other people or material things. We learn to enjoy the little things in life and be grateful for the present. Stoicism, on the other hand, does not teach people to hide their feelings or pretend they don't exist. In its place, it tells us to recognize and understand our feelings while keeping a clear head. We can better understand ourselves and deal with the ups and downs of life by practicing mindfulness and self-reflection. With this background and the Stoic idea that happiness comes from within, rather than relying on outside sources, let us now look at how Stoicism can help us deal with hard times without losing sight of our own sense of intercom. Part 9. How the Stoics Deal with Adversity. Being strong means facing life's problems head-on and seeing them as chances to grow and improve yourself. This helps you keep your inner peace. The Stoic way of thinking says that we shouldn't see problems as things we should avoid or fight, but as things we should face with strength and understanding. This theory tells us that bad things happen to everyone and that we can cultivate strength and knowledge by dealing with them with grace and courage. Stoic lessons stress how important it is to focus on what we can control instead of letting outside events control us. When we turn our focus from things we can't change to things we can, we give ourselves the power to act and make a difference when things go wrong. Stoicism teaches us to focus on the power of our own thoughts and deeds rather than external events outside of our control. Stigmatists also say that we should see failures as chances to grow as people. These people think that we can become better people by meeting problems head-on and learning from them. Adversity helps us grow by putting our character to the test and making us stronger so that we can handle future problems. By keeping this steady attitude toward trouble, we can handle life's expected ups and downs with more calm. We get a more realistic view of life when we see problems as chances to learn and grow, instead of things that cause us stress or worry. In the part that follows, titled Managing Stress and Anxiety Through Stoic Principles, we'll talk about how to put these ideas into practice. Part 10. Stoic Principles for Dealing with Stress and Anxiety. We can learn to handle the ups and downs of life with inner calm and strength by choosing a Stoic attitude. Stoicism says that our own thoughts and feelings about things cause us worry and anxiety. Understanding this concept helps us deal with stress in a healthy way. Recognizing that we have control over our thoughts and feelings is the first step. Stoics think that the mind is the only thing we can control. We don't have control over what happens, but we do have control over how we react and understand it. Being mindful and self-aware helps us notice our thoughts without judging them and decide how to react in a healthy way. Stoics also stress the importance of accepting that outside situations change and that everything is temporary. From this point of view, we can separate ourselves from results, which lowers our connection. Last but not least, Stoicism urges focus on what's important, living virtuous and according to reason, putting personal growth ahead of approval from others. Adopting these ideas will help you find inner peace by letting go of stress and anxiety through Stoic principles and stories. In short, realizing that you are in charge of your thoughts and feelings, accepting that everything changes, and focusing on what's important. The following lines will cover Stoicism and self-discipline as a way to improve oneself. Part 11. Stoicism and the art of self-control. Stoicism teaches us how to cultivate inner strength and advance personally by embracing the practice of self-control. Self-discipline is the most important thing in Stoic thought. It helps people deal with the problems they face in life with strength and resilience. By training ourselves to be disciplined, we learn to control our wants and urges. This helps us make smart choices that are in line with our morals and long-term goals. Stoicism says that one of the most important parts of self-discipline is learning to separate yourself from the effects of other people's actions. We know that there are many things that we can't change, like other people's actions or things that we couldn't have planned for. Stoicism tells us to focus on the things we can change, like our own thoughts, feelings, and actions. Anxiety and stress often go hand in hand with the need for outside approval or success. But if we change how we see things, we can get rid of those bad feelings. Stoics also stress how important it is to form habits that help you be self-disciplined. We can improve our willpower and get rid of bad habits or addictions by practicing and repeating things over and over again. We set a framework for focused living by making clear goals and putting in place daily routines that help us reach those goals. Stoics not only encourage people to be self-disciplined, but they also push for simplicity in material things and wealth. They think that being too attached to material things can make people unhappy and cause them to suffer needlessly. Focusing on traits like knowledge, courage, justice, and temperance can help us find happiness within ourselves, according to the Stoics. Before we get to the next section, the Stoic view on material possessions and wealth, it's important to remember that Stoicism teaches us a lot about valuing our own qualities over things we can see or touch. Part 12. The Stoic view on material things and money. Now that we've talked about Stoicism and the art of self-discipline, let's look at how Stoics feel about money and things. To the Stoics, real happiness doesn't come from outside sources, but from inside ourselves. They said that depending on material things to make you happy is a sure way to be unhappy, because these things will eventually break down. The Stoics said that wealth and material things don't care about virtue and should be treated as such. This means that having money or material things isn't necessarily bad, but they shouldn't be the center of our lives or what makes us feel good about ourselves. Stoics, on the other hand, stressed how important it was to develop inner qualities like self-control, knowledge, courage, and justice. Stoicism tells us that putting too much value on things outside of ourselves can make us attached to and dependent on them. When these outside things are the only thing that makes us happy, we leave ourselves open to losing or being destroyed by them. Contrarily, when we cultivate values within ourselves and place an emphasis on internal things like moral character and personal growth, we discover a kind of happiness that is unaffected by external factors. Stoicism helps us become less tied to material things by helping us see the difference between what we can control, our own thoughts and actions, and what we can't, experiences from outside our control. Having this sense of distance from things makes us more calm and strong when bad things happen. As we learn more about Stoicism and what it can teach us about letting go of things that can't be changed, Section 13 will go into more detail about such ideas. Stoicism and the Acceptance of Change, Part 13. Stoics look for comfort in accepting life's transitory nature because they are aware that everything is transient. Stoicism teaches us that everything in this world, from our things to our relationships, is temporary and can change. Things don't last forever. Let go of our attachments to the outside world and focus on building up our inner power and resiliency instead, says this theory. When we accept that life is temporary, we free ourselves from needless pain. We know that clinging to people or things will only make us sad and angry when they get away from us. Stoics, on the other hand, say that we should enjoy each moment as it comes, knowing that it could be our last. Accepting that things change over time also helps us enjoy the present moment more. When we understand that everything is temporary, we pay more attention to the beauty and wealth of each second. We learn not to take anything for granted and to enjoy the little things in life. Stoicism also serves to remind us of our own death by recognizing the transient nature of life. It tells us to live with purpose and a sense of urgency because time is running out. Stoics tell us to focus on virtue and wisdom instead of losing time and energy on unimportant things or chasing after shallow wants. To sum up, Stoicism gives us the knowledge to understand how important it is to accept that things change all the time. When we accept this as true, we can find comfort in the fact that nothing lasts forever. Instead, we can choose to do everything we can to make the most of each moment. In the next sentence, we'll talk about how the Stoic philosophy can help people find meaning and purpose in their lives, even if they don't depend on outside sources of happiness or approval. Finding meaning and purpose in Stoicism, Part 14. Philosophers who follow the Stoic path can help us understand how to give our lives more real meaning and purpose. Stoicism teaches us that real happiness comes from within, not from other people or their surroundings. It makes us want to focus on the things we can control and accept the things we can't with peace. By thinking in this way, we can give our lives a sense of purpose and meaning that isn't tied to what's going on in the outside world. Living in harmony with nature and being a good person in everything you do are central to Stoicism. The Stoics thought that virtue was the most important thing in life, and that trying to improve our moral character could bring us happiness and peace. To do this, you need to make living a wise, brave, fair, and self-disciplined life a goal. Stoicism encourages us to cultivate virtue while also encouraging us to be aware of and grateful in our daily lives. Being fully present in each moment and appreciating the simple pleasures that life has to offer can help us find meaning in even the most ordinary things that happen. Stoic techniques like negative imagery, which entails picturing the loss of something or someone important to us, may also help us respect what we have and cultivate a more grateful spirit. This is one way to use Stoicism. In order to find meaning and purpose through Stoicism, you have to move your focus from things or accomplishments outside of yourself to inner traits like virtue, mindfulness, and gratitude. Getting clear on what really means to us can help us find a deep sense of purpose that isn't tied to temporary situations or financial wealth. It becomes clear how these lessons can help us achieve more peace of mind and mental strength as we learn more about Stoicism in relation to the practice of separation. Part 15. Stoicism and the Art of Being. Separated. Stoicism is an old theory that has been studied in a lot of different ways. These different ways have helped us live lives that have meaning and purpose. We've learned that accepting the things we can't change and focusing on the things we can control can help us cultivate inner peace and happiness. Stoicism, on the other hand, not only gives you a way to deal with life's problems, but it also helps you learn to look at those problems without getting attached to them. When talking about Stoicism, the word detachment doesn't mean shutting down your feelings or separating yourself mentally from other people. Instead, it refers to the process of not being tied down to the outcomes and situations of the outside world. Stoics are people who think that happiness comes from within and doesn't depend on outside factors. If we make distance a normal part of our lives, we can learn to handle whatever comes our way without getting upset or happy. When we practice separation, we can stay calm and focused even when life goes up and down. It teaches us to pay attention to what's important, our own thoughts, actions, and ideals, instead of letting outside events that are out of our control affect us. To be strong in the face of hardship and keep our inner calm even during rough times, we can practice separation. What this part of Stoicism teaches us gets us ready for one of its deepest lessons, the Stoic view on death and dying. Part 16. How the Stoics understood death and dying. If we follow the Stoic way of thinking, death is like a gentle wave that takes us into the unknown, like a ship going into a vast and unknown sea. Stoicism has a unique view on death and dying, one that tells us to face our own mortality head-on and find comfort in the fact that we will die eventually. For Stoics, death is not something to fear or avoid. It is an essential part of how things work in the world. Some people called Stoics thought that everything in life is temporary and can change, even our own lives. They taught that death is just going back to nature and being free from the problems of life and the limits of our mortal bodies. We can cultivate acceptance and even respect for our brief stay on earth by viewing death from this viewpoint. We should not think too much about what comes after this life. Instead, we should live each day fully and intentionally, making the most of every moment we have. Stoicism advises us to put our attention on leading virtuous lives in the here and now. When we accept that we will die and see it as an important part of being human, we can live our lives with more clarity and purpose. We become more aware of what's important, our ties with others, the things we do for society, and most importantly, how we grow as people. Thus, Stoicism changes the way we think about death so that we don't see it as something to fear or avoid, but as a chance to grow as a person and think about our place in the world. If we are ready to accept our own death and act in a virtuous manner in light of it, we can live lives that are more important, full of purpose, and fulfilling. When we have a better understanding of these principles regarding death, when viewed through the lens of Stoicism, we can learn more about how they relate to Stoicism's focus on virtuous behavior. Part 17. Stoicism and why doing good things is important. Living by virtuous principles is the key to a happy life. Stoicism tells us that developing our own character is the only way to find real happiness and satisfaction, not in outside situations or material things. The Stoics said that virtue is the best thing that can happen and that you should try to achieve it above all else. Stoicism stresses how important it is to live a good life in all parts of our lives. To do this, we need to work on getting smarter, braver, and more self-disciplined. By acting in a way that is in line with these ideals, we can live a life that is morally sound and peaceful. Stoicism stresses that it is not enough to simply have virtuous views or goals. We must act on them. Our deeds shape our personalities and make us into the people we are that we are. Stoicism tells us to be responsible for the choices we make and try to live our lives in a way that is in line with our values. We can find meaning and purpose in even the most difficult situations by actively living out virtuous principles. Stoicism teaches us that while we have no control over external events, we can influence how we react to them. By practicing virtue, we build character strength and perseverance that help us handle the ups and downs of life with ease and calm. Stoic philosophy says that in order to live a meaningful life, one must make an effort to practice virtuous behavior. To do it, you have to constantly think about yourself, be disciplined, and be dedicated to your own growth. Only when we actively live by virtuous principles and put them into practice can we find inner peace and lead a worthwhile life that is based on moral duty. Let's learn more about Stoic ethics and what it means to be morally responsible. Part 18. Moral Responsibility and Stoic Ethics. Stoic ethics show us how we can shape our own character and future by introducing the idea of moral duty. Stoicism says that we are not silent victims of fate, but rather active players in making our lives happen. It is up to us to live virtuous lives and accept responsibility for our choices and deeds. In order to find inner peace and calm, let us now look at Stoic techniques. Section 19. Stoic methods for inner peace and tranquility. It is possible to find inner peace and tranquility by using realistic Stoic techniques that help us control our feelings and find peace in the middle of chaos. Stoicism is a set of practices and ideas that can help us find peace and calm even when things are hard. An important part of the exercise is being able to control one's wants. Some Stoics believed that we shouldn't waste time or energy thinking about things that we can't change. Instead, they said that we should focus only on things that we can change. By accepting this idea, we can keep ourselves from becoming dangerously attached to the outcomes of outside events and instead concentrate on developing virtuous qualities like discernment, fairness, courage, and effort. Visualization that is positive is another important exercise. This means picturing the worst-case scenarios to get our minds ready for hard times that might happen. When we think about loss or trouble before it happens, we are better prepared to handle tough situations with grace and strength. The value of mindfulness and life in the here and now was also stressed by the Stoics. We can cultivate a sense of inner peace and happiness by fully embracing the present moment and not focusing on regrets from the past or worries about the future. Stoic thought also puts a lot of emphasis on practicing gratitude. By regularly thinking about the good things in our lives, both big and small, we create an attitude of gratitude that helps us keep things in perspective when things get tough. To sum up, Stoic practices teach useful skills that can be used to find inner peace and harmony. If we focus on the parts of our lives that we can directly control, we may be better able to handle the problems that life deals us. The virtues of courage and fortitude will be discussed in the next section, Section 20. Stoicism and the virtues of courage and fortitude, if we train ourselves to be mindful of the present moment, cultivate appreciation, and practice constructive visualization. We have looked at different parts of this old philosophy as we have looked at Stoic techniques for inner peace and calm. Now let's talk about the core values of Stoicism, which are the traits of confidence and resolve. In the Stoic context, courage refers not only to physical bravery in the face of risk, but also to moral courage, which is the ability to stick to one's morals and act virtuously even in the face of difficulty or temptation. Stoics think that real strength comes from keeping one's inner calm and unwavering resolve in the face of difficulties. Fortitude is similar to courage, but it focuses on strength and endurance. The Stoics teach us that instead of giving up or getting angry, we should see problems as chances to grow. By working on our grit, we can make our minds tough enough to handle life's natural failures with grace and honor. We can cultivate an inner strength and peace that is unaffected by outward situations if we practice these qualities. Instead of letting fear or difficulties get the best of us, we can face them with stoic determination, knowing that they are just the way things are. Let's keep going with our journey through Stoicism by looking at how it sees time and the present moment. This part will help you understand how Stoics think about the transient nature of time and how they find comfort in living in the present. Part 21 talks about how Stoics see time and the present moment. True peace can be found in these passing moments, so embrace the transient nature of time and enjoy the beauty of the present moment. Stoicism teaches us important things about how we relate to time and encourages us to enjoy every moment. The Stoics thought that worrying about the future or focusing on mistakes from the past took away from our ability to fully feel and enjoy the present. Time is a valuable resource that should not be lost, according to Stoic thought. We shouldn't always be in search of what's next or missing what's gone by. Instead, we should focus on enjoying the here and now. To find inner peace and happiness, we can train ourselves to be aware of our thoughts and behaviors in the present moment. Stoic views on time also stress how important it is to accept that it changes over time. Being aware that everything, including ourselves, can change helps us let go of ties and expectations. This understanding frees us from the pain that comes from holding on to things that will eventually go away. To follow Stoic principles in daily life, you must see every moment as a chance to grow and get better. By practicing mindfulness and being fully present, we can learn something from every event in our lives, no matter how happy or sad it is. If we are willing to learn from each moment, they will teach us something. In short, realizing that time is fleeting helps us find comfort in the present moment, rather than getting stuck in regret over the past or worry about what the future holds. Focusing on the present moment in its entirety can help us feel at peace and make our lives more important. This focus on being present is a solid foundation for finding greater understanding and insight into ourselves and the world around us without losing sight of what really matters. This leads us to our next topic, which is Stoicism's search for knowledge. What a wonderful adventure we call life. Part 22. Stoicism and the search for knowledge. Learn how knowledge can change your life as we go on a trip of self-discovery and understanding, solving the secrets of life and learning about our true nature. According to Stoicism, the key to living a virtuous and satisfying life is to seek knowledge. Stoic thought says that being wise is more than just knowing a lot of things or being smart. It's more about understanding who you are, what your place is in the universe, and how to live in harmony with nature. Stoicism says that knowledge is the process of getting a deep understanding of what parts of our lives we can control and what parts we can't. It makes us want to work on building ideals like bravery, kindness, balance, and the knowledge that comes from having lived. We can handle the problems that life throws at us with calmness and strength if we work on these qualities through careful thought and practice. Stoics think that getting wise helps us see our wants and ties in a new light. By looking at ourselves and thinking about what we want, we can find the things that are truly important in life: virtue, inner peace, and separating ourselves from temporary outside events or pointless activities. We can cultivate a deep sense of focus and purpose by making knowledge the driving principle in our lives. Because we know that real happiness comes from inside, we are less likely to let outside factors cause us stress or worry. Before we go into more detail about Stoicism and its lessons on how to let go in the next part, let us think about how knowledge can help us stay calm even when things go wrong. Part 23 is about Stoicism and how to let go. We have looked at how this ancient philosophy urges us to seek knowledge and understanding in order to live a virtuous life in our investigation of Stoicism and the search of wisdom. We've learned that wisdom isn't just a mental exercise, but also a way of using what we know in real life so that we can handle the problems we face with calm and kindness. Moving on, let us learn more about Stoicism and how it has a big effect on the skill of letting go. According to Stoicism, the only way to be truly happy is to stop caring about how things turn out and just accept them as they are. It forces us to face the fact that there are parts of our lives that we have no control over, like how other people act or the situations we find ourselves in. Stoicism tells us to be strong inside no matter what, and to accept things as they are without fighting them. This frees us from useless suffering and keeps us from having to fight against our situations. If we cultivate an attitude of separation and accept the transience of everything, we can find peace even when things are chaotic. Intellectuals who follow the Stoics say that we should focus on what we can control, like our thoughts, actions, and attitudes, instead of worrying about things we can't change. By changing the way we look at things, we can separate ourselves from what's going on in the outside world, which gives us more inner peace. We live in a world full of demands and wants, which can make it hard to learn to let go. But by using Stoic principles when making decisions, we can become more clear-headed and wise. The next part of this article will talk about how Stoicism can help us make choices that are in line with our values without letting outside forces or ties get in the way. Section 24. Making decisions based on Stoic principles. Implementing Stoic principles when making choices can help you learn how to let go and make smart choices. Stoicism tells us to accept everything else as part of the natural order and concentrate on what we can control. When we have to make a choice, we can use this concept by first figuring out what we can control and what we can't. To make choices based on our own values, ideals, and logic, we need to be aware that we cannot control events or results that happen outside of us. Stoicism also tells us to think about how our choices will affect us in the long run. Instead of letting short-term wants or feelings guide us, we should think about each choice in terms of how it fits with our morals and well-being as a whole. This way of thinking keeps us from acting on impulse or giving in to social forces. Another important Stoic concept for making decisions is to not care about what other people do. Instead of being too attached to a certain end, we should accept that virtue is in the way things are done, not the results. By separating ourselves from the results we want, we become stronger in the face of hardship and better able to deal with unplanned events. Taking Stoic ideas into account when making choices helps us let go of ties that aren't helpful and choose options that are in line with our beliefs and principles. It frees us from having to let outside things that are out of our control us, and instead lets us focus on our own traits and personal growth. If we make choices based on these principles, we can live a more happy life that is filled with knowledge and peace. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about some Stoic ways to live a worthwhile life. Section 25 talks about Stoic ways to live a happy life. Now, let's look at some real-life Stoic habits that can help us live a full life. Visualization that is positive is an important exercise. When we think about losing something we care about, we learn to value it and not take it for granted. We can avoid getting highly connected to things or people by practicing this practice, which helps us cultivate gratitude. The practice of desire is another very useful method. Stoics think that wants and ties can cause pain, so they say that we should look at our wants and ask ourselves if they are really necessary. By practice separating ourselves from the results, we can stop being upset and be happy in the present. Stoics also stress how important it is to think about and reflect on oneself. We can look at our thoughts, feelings and behaviors with a clear head when we write in a book or meditate. Through this practice, we can see trends of behavior that might be bad or useless, which lets us make good changes in our lives. Stoicism also urges people to live in harmony with nature. In other words, it means that our actions and beliefs should be in line with global principles like justice, reason, and virtue. We can find real happiness and inner peace by aiming for moral greatness in every part of our lives. After all is said and done, adopting Stoic practices can greatly enhance our ability to live a life full of meaning and purpose. By following the principles of nature, we can cultivate gratitude, find contentment in the present, and aim for moral perfection. Acceptance, positive vision, wish control, self-reflection, and living in accordance with the principles of nature will eventually result in a life that is full of purpose and significance. Now, here are some important things to think about every day that come from Stoic teachings. 1. Embrace justice. The Stoics stress the significance of cultivating and living by virtues like knowledge, courage, justice, and temperance. Inner peace and eudaimonia are the results of striving to live a virtuous life. 2. Focus on what you can control, such as your thoughts, feelings, and actions, and let go of what you can't, such as outside events or other people's actions, according to Stoicism. 3. Self-mastery is important. The Stoics believed in self-control and discipline. We can live a more calm and logical life if we can control our wants and feelings. 4. Accepting that things change. The Stoics knew that things change, and they taught us that we can deal with change and hardship better if we accept this truth. 5. Develop resilience. Stoicism stresses the importance of building resilience and the ability to handle hard times with calmness. Improving our mental strength helps us deal with problems better. 6. Live in harmony with nature. The Stoics thought that people should act in a way that fits with the way the world works naturally. A more contented life is one that is lived in harmony with nature and in accord with reason. 7. The Stoics advocated mindfulness, or a more acute sense of the present moment. Being in the present moment helps you make better choices and worry less about the past or the future than you need to. 8. Friendship and community are important. Stoics believed in making friends and stressing how important it is to treat others with kindness, understanding, and fairness. 9. Cultivating gratitude for what we have can help us to stop wanting things outside of ourselves and instead focus on enjoying the little things in life. 10. See problems as chances to learn and grow. The Stoics saw problems as chances to learn and grow. Adversity can help you become stronger and more resilient. 11. Know that you have a choice. Stoicism teaches us that we can pick how to react to different scenarios. We can stop letting our feelings control us if we understand this power. 12. Consider inner peace more important than material wealth. Stoics thought that inner peace and happiness, not material things or social status, were what made someone truly wealthy and happy. In general, Stoic beliefs promote a way of life that is in harmony with both oneself and the rest of the world. They also support personal growth and the pursuit of happiness through virtuous behavior and self-knowledge. Many people who want to make their lives better and find a greater sense of purpose and peace still find these timeless principles to be helpful. Stoic philosophy, which was developed in Rome after being formed in ancient Greece, offers helpful insights and useful tips for leading a happy and virtuous life. To sum up, Stoicism is a deep theory that can help us live a happy life by focusing on the ideals of knowledge, resolve, and mental stability. We can handle the problems in life with ease and strength. We can cultivate inner peace and find happiness in any situation through mindfulness and the practice of letting go. Stoicism's principles help us make smart choices and figure out what we can control. Stoicism gives us the tools to live purposeful lives by giving us a reasonable way to deal with life's uncertainties. Change things for yourself.